Hello Chief, I'm Gary. Let me introduce the topic of our Operation Management Project. The topic is Hong Kong Integration Control, analysis of Hong Kong Airport and Local Control Point. There are 6 members in our group. In our presentation, there are 3 parts. Problem define. We will forecast the number of passengers in the coming year. Problem analysis. We will find out the variability. And the solution, we will give some suggestion to the problem. In the problem define part, we will talk about the background and then find out the problem of local control point and the existing problem in Hong Kong Airport. With effect from year 2010 January, the Integration Department has set up a new performance target. The target of airport decision is to clean up 98% resident and 95% visitor within 15-minute waiting time. And the target of border decision is to clean up 95% passenger within 30 minutes. Actually, Hong Kong International Airport and Local Control Point are the two most busy integration control points with highest passenger traffic. In year 2012, over 37 million passengers used Hong Kong Airport. 100% of residents and over 97% visitor can be cleared within 15 minutes in the airport. Local control point handle over 95 million passengers in year 2012, and over 99% passengers can be cleared within 30 minutes. Because of this, the top manager of Integration Department is very concerned about how to fulfill the target in the coming year.
Okay, let's look at the problem-defined phase. No matter the airport division or the railway division of Immigration Department, keeping the clearance pledge is not only determined by their internal management level, but also is determined by how many passengers will arrive in the following years. So here is our first problem. We should know how many passengers will come in each control point in the future. Here we used the Luowu and airport control point as our examples to illustrate the problem. We used the winter method based on the data in past 16 months to forecast the total in arrival and the changing percentage. Here is the trend graph. We can see that the total in arrival trend should appears uptrend, and the change percentage should be 6%. But however, for the Luowu, I think there is one thing I should mention. Because if we use the data in past 16 months, before the 2012 December, we can get an uptrend graph. But if we use the same duration data with the airport case, we can get a downtrend graph. The reason why the amount of arrival declined so dramatically is that the Hong Kong government issued a constraint policy to restrain the milk powder cross-boundary trade. So we can see this number shows below this slide. After know how many people will come, then I think we should measure the number of passengers within the boundary of control point approximately and adjust the human resources to make sure our service capacity within a reasonable range. Besides, I think we should be in the passenger's shoes to improve the service level, and in order to get rid of the anxiety the passengers may feel in the waiting queue.
Thanks, Tony and Gary. The following part we would like to talk about is problem analysis. In this part, we would like to talk about the two main resources of variability: the visitor arrival and process, and the utilization. We take Luohu control point as an example to explain the visitor arrival. From this chart, we can conclude that the arrival rate of non-HK residents is totally opposite to the rate of HK residents. In terms of the former one, we can see that to be specific, on a single day, more residents arrive in the morning than in the evening, and for a whole week, more residents arrive on weekends than on normal days. Finally, especially on some special festivals like Christmas or during some special holidays, the number of visitors come increase dramatically, and all of these factors make the variability of arrival number larger. And then we would like to talk about the variability from process. Then, to have a further understanding, we should first watch a short.
入境精英兵變，萬人逼爆深圳灣。
呢2年深港兩地往返，我都可以話係身經百戰，但今晚個勢都係第一次見。
點解得3個窗口通關，個半鐘仲喺大廳？估計3個鐘都未過到啊！
咁墟冚，咪以為係春運，查晒前日嘅深圳灣口岸，逼咗成萬個出境旅客，間3個字：入境處兵變。是咁的，有個職員被女指揮官省，有同事睇唔過眼，咪幫拖咯。
殺人放火金腰帶就你嘅，修橋補路無屍骸就我哋嘅。
之後射埋波添，唔少人和應㗎，最少有16個員佐級同多個中層，包括入境事務主任都射波。前晚繁忙時間開得3隻槍，咪做死人咯。
Okay, we can conclude that only 3 counters was available on that day, which left the passengers piling up at the border and waiting for over several hours to go through the control point. So we can see that the labor variability sometimes causes very serious influence on the efficiency of the process. Then last, we would like to talk about the handle process. For HK residents, the handle process is generally below 30 seconds, while the number for mainland residents and foreigners is 45 seconds and 3 minutes respectively, even though both of them was handled by the same manual counter. And both the labor variability and the variability from handle process makes the CE number larger. And then we will transfer the utilization part to Lika.
Thanks for learning about the analysis. And there's also another problem about this process variability. This is the layout of the existing queue. We can see that in our first part, the passengers were divided into mainland passengers, Hong Kong residents, and permanent residents. They all queue for their own counters and finally go to the security checking. After analyze this queuing layout, we found that the utilization of the counters are not very well defined. The purpose for the redirection of the people is to control the variation of the process time. However, this is not doing the thing. The difference between the process of all the counters only lies between the services difference. Some counters with standing services and others with not, and some with paper services and others not. So, apart from this differences, all the counters can handle the same passengers. And thus we find that the mainland's counters and Hong Kong resident counters are all on the very high utilization. However, the permanent Hong Kong residents are very low utilization. So this is another problem with the counters. And we can see from the equilibrium plan that in order to reduce the cycle time of the process, we have so many factors that we can look into. In the former part, when we talk about the process and arrival time variations, we can reduce the cycle time by reducing the two factors there. However, we cannot control this arrival time, so this will not be the main focuses. And we can also adjust the utilization of the counters in order to reduce the cycle time. And another method is to increase the end factors. Let's increase the counters and the staffs of the Hong Kong immigration.
Thanks, Rini and Lita's analysis. In solution part, we will use buffer load to try to suggest some solutions. For airport problem, we forecast that there will be more visitors than last year. So we will suggest the airport control point to add some capacity to handle the visitors. For loads problem, Stanley will demonstrate a new current layout as well as index line. In the coming year, we forecast that the whole arrival visitor will increase to 21 million. In this part, there will be 1.3 million new visitors, more than last year. In this part of visitor, since not all of them are all come from, for this part of visitor, some of them are Hong Kong residents. This means it can be handled by each channel. For the rest, they need handled by counters. So we need to know the exactly percentage. Take 2011 for example. Here 7 million means whole Hong Kong resident visitor number, and 18 million means whole arrival visitors. This data is just come from airport. So we can know that the Hong Kong resident percentage will be about 40%. And then we know that the percentage for the visitor need handled by counter will be about 60%. And in this part of visitor, some of them come from mainland China and some of them are foreigners. Since their process are different, so the process time will be also different. Here also take 2011 for example. 28 million is whole mainland visitors, and 41 million is whole visitors. This part of data is some of the all control points, not just from airport, all control points. So we know that the mainland China will take about 67%. And here TPM is the process time for mainland China, and TPM is for non-Chinese. Since airport is working 24 hours, the working seconds will be about 86,000 seconds. And then we can know that the capacity for a counter in one day will be about 1,200. And then we go on, we will calculate that the new counter will be 2. Since the counter, since the staff cannot operate counter 24 hours, staff need rest, need weekends, and need annual leaves. And then we assume that for staff, the working day in 1 year will be 242, and then we can know that one counter needs 4.5 staffs. And this part of calculation just focus on the arrival visitors, and in control point there are also outbound visitors. For this outbound visitor, the number will be more or less same with arrival. So we can simply assume they are same. And for the whole Hong Kong airport control point, the new counter will be 2 multiple 2, that's 4, and the new staff will be about 18. So in short, we suggest Hong Kong Airport as 4 new counter and 18 staff.
Another suggestion we have is the new queue layout. The new queue layout aims to improve the variability of the queuing and the variability of the counter side. We suggest to combine the queuing for the mainland China resident into one. This could combine every queue the variability into one, and this could reduce the overall variability. Another is since the mainland China resident must use counter for the clearance now, but not the Hong Kong resident and the Hong Kong permanent resident. These could still choose to use the D channel. Therefore, we have suggested a trickle system. In the trickle system, the immigration control staff will check whether the counter for the Hong Kong resident and Hong Kong permanent resident is free. If they're free, they could ask the mainland China resident to pass to do the clearance in that two counter. Otherwise, they could still use the counter for the mainland China resident to do the clearance. Form a large queue could also avoid the jumping queue problem and also reduce visitor negative emotion. Due to there will only be one waiting time for all of them, will not be several different waiting time for them. The first suggestion we suggested is to add 2 control lines for the control point. In Hong Kong Immigration Department study, there are 97% of residents could complete the clearance within 30 minutes, but actually we still find a lot of visitors have complained about too long waiting time. That means 97% may not be that accurate that it will be done within 30 minutes. At this moment, the Immigration Department need to use the forecasting to calculate and estimate the coming visitor in the following season or year to make the schedule. However, there are too many variability to make the schedule not accurate and not efficient for the estimation. However, we do not have exact visitor arrival distribution at this moment, so we could not calculate actually how many new staff need to be added in the peak hour. But we could suggest to solve this problem by controlling the WIP and adding 2 index lines. One is the orange index line and one is the red line. This method could simple and usefully help the immigration control management to know when they will need to add the staff and do the following action. In the calculation, we used throughput equal to WIP divided by the cycle time. For the WIP, we first calculate how many visitors will arrive per day. We're using total 6 years data divided by the overall day to calculate the visitor per day, and we only count the visitors that need to handled by the counter, which we know around 77% people could be passed through by the e-channel, and around 23 to 24% need to be done by the counter. And we also use the working minutes in the control point, calculate at this. For the orange line, as I say, we're using the cycle time is 20 minutes, which means they are waiting around the 20 minutes for each resident. In 20 minutes, there is an alarm line to let the management know they need to start adding staff. And the red line is the cycle time is already 15 minutes as they promised. It means they are already at the upper limit. So the management team should add the staff immediately to reduce the queuing problem. The following will be the conclusion and presented by Dylan.
In this project, we use the winter method to forecast the airport, and we defined the low boost problem. Reading and later analyze the problem from the variability and the utilization aspects with more details. Stanley and I try to suggest some solutions and like some precise capacity, the nuclear layout as well as the control lines. For the long-term improvement of the Hong Kong immigration service level, we would suggest the department increase the e-channel for mainland Chinese. And finally, thanks Jeff's watching and teaching, we have learned a lot of management skills and theories. Thanks for your fantastic teaching. Thank you.